How you going, guys? Dean here from the Adeptus Victorium, and with the Eightfold Path only 1 week away, I thought what better time than to share a new video series with you called the TO's Top 5. In this video, the plan is to share with you the top 5 lists from all of the upcoming AVC events. So 1 week prior to the event, the TO of that event will be doing a short video similar to this, where they'll be reviewing their top 5 picks or their favorite 5 lists from the upcoming event. This will be a new series that's going to feature for all 12 events in the Adeptus Victorium circuit. So you can look forward to hearing lots of good content here on our YouTube channel. Without further ado, I'm going to jump in to my first pick for my top 5 lists. Alrighty, so the first list that I'm going to go through today is Adam Camilerri's Adeptus Custodes. I've got the list down here in front of me, and I'll just give you a quick run through of the units that he's taken and why I think this list is fucking cool as shit. Alright, so Adam's list, even though I mentioned it is a Custodes primary, starts off with a battalion of Astra Millitarium, with the Cadian as their regimental doctrine. In that, he has Creed as his warlord. He has a company commander who takes the Kurov's Aquila relic, and he has that 3 squads of 10 standard basic Astra Militarum guardsmen. So he's clearly got that in there for command points, and also just so that he has some cheap expendable troops that he can afford to sit on a backfield objective and not have to stress about them, and also gives himself something as a forward screen if he wants to protect himself from like deep striking charges and that sort of thing. So standard loyal 32, but with Creed, which is an interesting addition. It's a good cheap way of getting additional command points in your list, and I know that Adam has got a few tricks up his sleeve with the stratagems available to the Custodes. So with that being said, let's get into the Custodes element of his list. Alrighty guys, so for the Custodes component of Adam Camilerri's list, we have an Outrider detachment. In the HQ slot, he has Trajan Valoris, I believe is the pronunciation, correct me if I'm wrong. And then in his elites slot, he has 8 Aloris Custodes. He's equipped these with Castellan Axe, Miscordia, standard sort of loadout. He's chosen the Axe, I believe, because it gives them the ability to strike at strength 8 in combat, which if he comes up against things like Knights, this will be the way he'll have to deal with them, because his list doesn't have a lot of tools for taking out those toughness 8 targets. So this is going to go a long way to helping him take out Knights. His second elite slot is a Vexellus Praetor, which he'll be able to give him the banner, which either gives all of those Aloris Custodes +1 attack, which is pretty good, or he can make them all neg1 to hit, which I dare say is what he'll do, just to protect himself against that first turn shooting, which can always be damaging. And then in his fast attack slots, he has 3 units of 3 Virtus Praetors, which are the Custodes on the Dawn Eagle jet bike. So he's got 9 of them in total. And the reason I like this list is because it plays to the ITC missions really well. It's got bugger all infantry, so you're not getting Reaper off it. It's going to be very difficult to get Butcher's Bill or Marked for Death, because the units that you're going to want to try and kill to achieve those are difficult. To try and kill multiple of them in one turn is very difficult. It doesn't give up any big game hunter. It doesn't give up Titan Slayer. It doesn't give up Headhunter. It's going to be very difficult to score big points on this. And also, being such a tough list, it also has the added benefit of it's really hard to kill. So it's a points denial style of game where he's going to go in there, he's going to give up fuck all, he's going to try and take everything from you, he's going to try and go, you've got lots of infantry, so I'm going to jump down, I'm going to max out Reaper, I'm going to max out Titan Slayer on your Knight, you know, that sort of thing, and then he's going to basically hide, and he's going to try and make sure that he survives. So I think it's a really cool list, and there's a lot of really cool tricks you can do with command points in this list, which I'm not going to give away because I don't want to ruin his strategies. But yeah, Adam Camilerri's Custodes list is definitely one of my top 5. Alright, next up we have Brendan Watson. Now, Brendan's a new face to the Eightfold Path scene, and this is exactly what I want to see because he's bringing some really cool creative thoughts, and his list stood out as a really, really good take on a pretty popular archetype. But he's done some stuff in there that's really impressive to me. So the archetype is a guard brigade, or sometimes dual battalion, supported by a knight. So we've seen this a lot. It's a pretty common build, but it also has some pretty significant weaknesses, and I think that Brendan has done a really good job of plugging some of those weaknesses. So let's go through his list. Alright, so Brendan's got a brigade of Astra Millitarium. Its Catechin is its regiment bonus. He's got Colonel Ironhand Strachan. He's got 2 company commanders. That fills out his 3 mandatory HQ slots. Then he has 6 infantry squads in his troops, filling those all out. And there's no upgrades on these guys, they're bare bones. Then we go into his elites, where he has an Astropath, a Minotaurian Priest, and Sergeant Harker. Now, Sergeant Harker gives really good aura buffs to the Catechins, which I believe is why this character's been put in the list. Then, in his fast attack slots, he has 3 Scout Sentinels. So one of them has a multi-laser, and the other 2 have autocannons, which I think he's probably just gone with that for the points. He probably just had some spare points to spend. It was like, where am I going to do it? Oh, fuck it, I'll chuck him on a Sentinel. In his heavy support, he has 2 Basilisks and 3 heavy weapons squads, each with 3 mortars in each. Now, I think this is really important because this will give him considerable DACA for clearing out those small units that people try and hide behind ruins or hide behind terrain. You won't be able to hide from this guy. He's going to be able to pick off reliably a couple of kill points every turn. And being ITC missions, being able to be sure that you're going to kill something every turn is really important. And the Mortars and Basilisk combo is really effective at doing this. So I really like that addition. The next component is the Knight, which is, we've all seen these guys before. It's a Castellan. He's House Raven, Questor Mechanicus, so he's going to be using Call's Wrath. He's going to be using all of the CP from his battalion, from his brigade, to give that thing a 3-up invulnerable save more often than not. It's going to be a hard cookie to crack, and it's going to put out a lot of hurt. So this is a significant damage output component of the list, and he's offset the damage output really well with the table control, which you get from the brigade. But now let's go through the part on Brendan's list that stood out to me, and the reason that it made it into the top 5 when a few of the other similar lists at the event. There's a few lists that combine Guard and Knight, but this is what made it for me, was he has 3 shield captains on the Dawn Eagle jet bike. Now, one of the biggest problems that I find the Guard and Knight combo faces is its complete lack of combat. It's got nothing that can threaten combat heavy armies. So once you get into combat, it's game over. Well, it certainly feels that way. Whereas now, if your opponent has that one combat threat, they have to think twice before charging it in because they might get fought back with 3 shield captains. He can use the stooping dive stratagem so that when something gets charged, he can just jump in and fight first and beat away that combat threat before it even gets to strike. There's a lot of tricks he can do here. That being said, they are very CP hungry, and so is the Knight. So I think what's going to determine the success of Brendan's games will be his ability to manage that resource and allocate command points on the right stratagems at the right times. But his list has definitely got it's got the punch, it's got the shooting, it's got the table control, it's got a lot of the things that will make it really effective on the tabletop. The only real thing that I don't like about the list is it gives up a lot of secondary objectives in the ITC mission format. If he makes that Knight a character, they're going to get 4 points out of Kingslayer. He's got enough infantry for them to get max on Reaper. He's got a few tanks and a few other things that they can use to get big game. He's got a lot of small, easy to kill units, so people can get Mark for Death, people can get Butcher's Bill. You know, it's got a lot. It gives up a lot, but it takes a lot. So I'm thinking he's probably hoping to just get first turn and just put out so much DACA that he'll just put himself in a significant lead in the fight and hope to win the fight over the mission. Whereas I don't think his list is going to do an amazing job at winning missions, but I still think it was a very creative take on what's a very popular archetype, and it's popular for a reason. It's good, and this is the best of that type in my opinion. So great job, Brendan. And yeah, let's jump into the next list. All right, so next we have Daniel Martin. Now this is another example of what I think is a really good take on a really popular archetype. And this archetype is pure knights. So you've probably noticed at a lot of events these days, a lot of players will bring 4 knights, and that's their list. That's everything. Some people will offset that with maybe having 3 knights and a few of the Armiger Helverins or Warglaves. But generally speaking, people that run knights, they just run 4 knights, and they use that so that every gun in your army that can't deal with knights is useless. Every las gun you have, useless. You know, it's a really strong and dominating archetype, and it's really scary to verse. I've seen it played a few different ways. I've seen people put a shadow sword and a few knights together. I've seen a few knights with Guilliman as a type, but I like what Daniel's done here, and I'll go through what he's got. So his House Crust and his Questor Mechanicus, so he's going to be using Cole's Wrath. He's going to be using all of the really good stratagems and stuff like that. He's got a Knight Castellan, he's got a Knight Crusader, and then he's got 2 Knight Gallants. Now Gallants are one of my favorite units in the entire game. Gallants are so much fun, and their ability to apply significant pressure on your opponent and like a significant threat that's right in your face, combined with the fact that they're really fucking hard to kill, is very unique, and it's very, very powerful when you can do that. And the fact that he's doing it with 2, I think is really good, because he's going to throw both of those up in your face. He'll probably spend CP to give them Land Strider so that they get the additional advanced move, and then he'll use CP to give them full tilt so that they can advance in charge. One of them can advance in charge. He'll probably do that on occasion, but yeah, the ability there to apply pressure means that you're going to have to shoot those 2 knights. You have to kill them, and you have to kill them fast. But the thing is if you're doing that, you're not dealing with his Castellan, and you're not dealing with his Crusader, and those 2 over the course of 6 turns will fuck you up. So it's a really good combo in the way that you've got essentially a backfield knight firebase combined with a front field that you have to deal with now, which protects your firebase. And then by the time those gallants have gone in, they've killed some shit, you've finally whittled them down and you've dealt with them, chances are you're not going to have enough forces left in your gun line to deal with those big shooting knights. So I think that's a really good combo, but that's not all that Daniel has, and this is the next part which I think it makes it a really good list. He's got a battalion of Adeptus Mechanicus, and in this battalion he's got 2 Tech Priest Engine Seers and 3 units of Skitarii Rangers. They've got various upgrades, but I think they're more about just spending the points that he had available than they are about any specific choice that he was trying to make. But basically he's got these units that he can either sit them behind ruins on a backfield objective somewhere and just ignore them because they're cheap, which that's something that knight lists often struggle with because they don't want to be necessarily sitting there where the objectives are. They want to be out doing things. Even the shooting knights have combat, you know, and the fact that they can just fall back out of combat, shoot something and then charge into another combat means unless your opponent has significant combat threats, you want those knights getting in there and kicking cunts in the face anyway. So it's he's got 5 units here because he's got the three troops units and the 2 characters, obviously. He can use them for holding those insignificant backfield objectives in a game where he needs to, but he can also use them to screen out his knights, which is also a really important protection for turn 1. And turn 1 and 2, when you've got deep striking enemies, you've got Zangors that are going to be dark matter crystal up at your face, you know, you need to be able to tell those guys, no, you have to wait until turn 3 before you get in combat with me. And if you can make them wait until turn 3, that gives you 3 turns to do what you need to do. which means that you might spend the first 3 turns of the game creating a lead that they can't keep up to. So I really like the addition of the AdMech guys in there as well. All right, now let's go through the next list, which is David Tyrell. All right, David Tyrell is another new face to the Eightfold Path, and I'm really excited that we're pulling all of these new people into the scene. It's going to be really exciting just to see how their lists and playstyles shape the meta, because we've got a pretty stable meta at the Eightfold Path, and hopefully this, combined with the other unique types of events that are coming in the Adeptus Victorium circuit, will shake the meta up, and it'll really help give the experienced players, the people who've been dominating, give them a new challenge, give them something that they have to learn and adapt to, and also give some of the new players a fresh opportunity to redefine what their playstyle is going to be. And I'm really hoping that David can help us out with that. So I'm going to look down a little bit because he's running Drakari, or Dark Elder, and I'm not very familiar with their codex and what they can do. I had a quick look after reading his list because it struck me as interesting. So I had a quick flip through, but yeah, you'll have to forgive me as I go through it. So he's got a Prophets of the Flesh Spearhead detachment. So he's got a Homunculus, and he's got 3 units of 3 Talos. Now this is the first thing that made me think, oh, this list is legit, because I've played against units of Talos a few times before, and they are fucking hard to kill. And if you don't kill them, they put out a lot of hurt. Like, they get lots of attacks with their chain flails and macro scalpels. Like, they put out a lot of hurt, they do a lot of attacks, and they're also really, really hard to kill. But he's, with his Homunculus, that one, he obviously gives the toughness boost, but he's got the Vexator Mask as his relic, which is a really fucking annoying thing to verse as a combat player, because I generally play combat. And basically he can pick one of your units and say, that unit has to fight last. No matter what. Doesn't matter, you want to spend CP to interrupt, no, you have to fight last. So if you charge his ball, because he's going to run those 9 Talos with a Homunculus right in the center as a ball, you can't target the fucking Homunculus because he's in the middle of the ball, and when you go to charge them, he's going to just pick your unit and make it fight last, and then those Talos are just going to kill you. So you just can't kill it in combat, unless you have a lot of units. Like, you need to throw like 3 or 4 good units into it so that he can pick one, make them fight last, and then you fight with a unit, and then he CP interrupts and fights with another unit, and then you fight with your remaining 2 units. Like, it takes a lot to deal with these guys in combat, and in a meta of demons and orcs, I think this is really a really good move. It's a really smart move, and he'll be able to just take that big ball and shove it straight in your face, and it's very hard for you to deal with, and it's impossible for you to ignore. So I really like that just as a core of the list. So I saw that and I was like, okay, now how is he supplementing that? I find one of the weaknesses of that is that it's similar to a Knight Gallant. It goes up in the middle and it fucks, but it's not capturing objectives, it's not controlling the table. So it's the same as a lot of these sort of super heavy style lists. So he's supplemented that with a battalion, which obviously he wants some CP as well. So he's put a battalion in there, which has got 2 succubi, and 3 units of witches. One's a unit of 17 or 18 because of the Hectari or whatever their sergeant is. So one's a unit of 18, one's a unit of 17, and one's a unit of 6. Now, I'm thinking he's probably gone, I need 3 units, so I'll take a unit of 5 and then split my points evenly across the next 2 units, which is why they're 17 and 16 instead of, like, you know, whatever. And basically that gives him 2 nice big witch combat threats, which the witches are pretty good, and it also gives him a unit of 5 that he can hide, similar to like what I was saying Daniel could do with his Skitarii, is hide them on a backfield objective, and people will just ignore it because they're too busy dealing with this big ball of fuck you that's in the middle of the table. So I really like that element of the list. And witches are also really good in the way that they can lock you in combat and make it hard. Like, you can't fall back unless you beat them in a roll-off. So that's really effective if you're going up against like a gun line like Tau, or even Daniel's Skitarii, or the AdMech, stuff like that, where you're worried that they're just going to shoot you off the table. You can use your witches to try and pin those units, and then they can't shoot you and they can't fall back. So that's really effective. So witches are a really good utility unit. And then his third detachment is another battalion, so he's got plenty of CP in this list. He's got a Uthway battalion. So he's got Aeldari at front, he's got a Warlock, and then he's got 3 units of Guardian Defenders. So they're 2 units of 20 and a unit of... he's got 2 units of Guardian Defenders, in units of 20, and then a unit of 5 Rangers. Now, this is one of the things that made me think, okay, now this guy really knows his shit. This is a really good list, because the Talos are really good at taking out mech and heavy targets, because they hit like a fucking brick shithouse, and they got haywire blasters. They do okay against Horde, but that's not their forte. And with these big units of Guardian Defenders, he'll be able to put them in the webway, deep strike them down when he needs to, shoot the shit out of stuff, and then jump on objectives with big units of objectives secured late game, which is really important. And it's really good because he can, by putting them in the webway, he can protect them. So Guardians are relatively squishy, they're pretty easy to kill. You can't kill them if they're in the webway, and then he just brings them down when the witches have got you all locked up in combat, so you're not shooting anymore. The Talos is fucking sticking a fist in your ass, and then the Guardians drop down and are able to pick off the targets that are remaining and then capture those objectives. I think this is a really good list. This is really cool. And it's very different to what we've seen before, which is why it made my top 5. Alrighty, on to the last list, and it's no surprise here that the list that made my final top 5 is Matt Morrosoli. Now, Matt Morrosoli and I have been workshopping lists together to an extent, because we're both running very similar lists at CanCon, and a lot of people are using Eightfold Path as CanCon practice. So the conversations that we've had around CanCon would be similar to the conversations we would have if we were trying to workshop an Eightfold Path list. And basically, he's running Daemons, and those of you who know me know I fucking love Daemons, and I'm really confident that Daemons are the most powerful faction in the game. And I think that Matt Morrosoli's list, while it's not the perfect optimized Demon list in my opinion, I would make some slight changes. I still think it's a really powerful list, and I think he's going to fuck people up with this list. So let's go through it. So he starts off with a mixed Demons battalion. So he's got a Demon Prince with wings and the Axe of Khorne. He'll be giving him the Skull Reaver, and this is basically a Demon Prince that flies around and fucks knights and super heavies. This guy rips things apart. He'll be a really big problem for the Talos. He'll be a really big problem for the Castellans. He'll be a problem for the Custodes. Like, this guy is a beat stick. He's going to jump in there and he's going to do a lot of damage. Then he's also got a Poxbringer, which you'll see why in a second. He has 27 Bloodletters with a demonic icon and an Instrument of Chaos. And basically that means he's got this big unit of 27 that he can deep strike for 2 CP, spend an extra CP to give him a Banner of Blood, which gives him a 3d6 rerollable. Actually, he won't get the rerolls because it's a mixed battalion. If it was pure Khorne, he would get a rerollable charge, but he won't get that being pure Khorne. So he just gets 3d6 plus 1, which is still something like a fucking 95% chance of successfully making that 8 inches that you require. So it's really, really reliable, good damage, and these 30 guys will kill a knight. So another really powerful punch coming from the Khorne component of his list. He then backs this up with 28 Plague Bearers, which is why he's obviously got the Poxbringer. So if he goes first, he can cast Miasma of Pestilence, hide all of his characters behind that 1 unit of Poxwalkers, and then basically try and force you to have to engage and have to shoot something that's probably going to have a 4-up invulnerable save with a 5-up feel no pain and -2 to hit. So if he can do that, I've seen entire armies shoot at it and kill like 6 Plague Bearers. Sorry, I call them Poxwalkers. I'm an idiot. They're Plague Bearers. So that's a really, really strong unit, and it's like the opposite of the Bloodletters. The Bloodletters are weak, they die easy, but fuck, they hit hard. Whereas the Plague Bearers are the other way around. They don't do much damage, they're not there to hurt you, they're there to be hard to kill. So it's like the yin and yang sort of thing, component going on in his list, which I think is really good. They synergize well. And then to fill out the battalion, he's got a unit of 10 Brimstone Horrors. They're just obviously in there because he needs a third troops choice and he doesn't want to commit too many points. This is 30 points. Boom, done. Lock it in. They'll be hiding in a backfield objective somewhere. Then he goes to a Thousand Sons Battalion. Now, in this, he's got a Change Caster, which is like the Herald, Zinch Herald. He's got a Sorcerer, just on foot, no upgrades. Simple. And then for his troops, he's got a unit of 25 Pink Horrors, which he'll obviously be able to deep strike as a second bomb. So he's got the Bloodletter Bomb, and then he's got the Pink Horror Bomb. And these Pink Horror Bomb, he'll probably drop that turn 2 and use their shooting to clear out any screening units so that the Bloodletters can get in there and do their thing. He'll drop the Changecaster with them so that he can cast Flickering Flames, which will give them +1 to wound. Makes them very effective at clearing out infantry, because they don't have any Ren value, so you don't really want to be shooting at tanks, but it's very effective at clearing out guardsmen and the like. And then for his next 2 troops choices in the Thousand Sons detachment, he has a unit of 28 Zangors and a unit of 20 Zangors. And these both have a Brayhorn, so they both get +1 to their charges. He'll probably Deep Strike one and then Dark Matter Crystal the other. So that essentially one will hit you turn 1, the other one will come down either with the pinks or with the Bloodletters, depending on what you've got in the way. The Zangors are very good. I played with them for the first time a few weeks ago, and I was surprised. They're sort of halfway between a Bloodletter and a Plague Bearer, because you can cast a power on them to make them neg1 to hit. You can cast a power on them to give them a 4-up invulnerable save, so they've got some components. They're toughness 4, so they've got some components that are similar to the Plague Bearers, but they also have a lot of attacks, decent rend value. You can cast a lot of powers on them, make them more aggressive, so they're sort of more of a Swiss Army knife. So I think this list with the 2 Zangors, the Bloodletters, the Plague Bearers, the Pink Horrors, like it just has all of the tools to do what you need to do. And Matt knows what to do with them. He's very good with this list. But that's not all. So his 3rd detachment is a Supreme Command, where he has Ahriman on a disc, a Demon Prince, and 2 Sorcerers on a disc. So this one, being a Thousand Sons detachment that doesn't have any demons in it, means that he unlocks the Thousand Sons stratagems, and there's a lot of really good ones in there. And not only does it do that, but it means he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got 7 smites, 5 of which don't suffer the penalty for multiple casts from chapter approved. So basically he's going to be able to drop down. His Poxspring is probably going to cast Miasma. The Changecaster is probably going to cast Flickering Flames, and then the other 5 guys will just go smite, 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 smite. And Ahriman's going to be throwing out all kinds of other powers as well. The Demon Prince is going to be throwing out all kinds of other powers as well. Like, it's a very psychic heavy list, being Thousand Sons focused. But the best part about that whole Supreme Command is that none of it can be targeted if they're behind the Plague Bearers. So he's going to put all of this shit, all of it behind the Plague Bearers, and then be like, come on, shoot me, I dare you. Because there's not much you can really do to shoot it. So this is probably my number 1 list. I wasn't going to say a number 1 when I came into this video, but it's definitely up there. It's a very, very strong list, and I think it has the tools to combat the other 4 lists that I put forward, because he can smite out Adam's Custodes, he can clear Guardsmen, he can kill Talos, he can kill Knights. It's a really good all-round list that I think it's a good all-comers list. I think he'll do really, really well. So yeah, that's my top 5 lists. Over the next couple of days, I will be going through the remaining lists, making sure that they're all legal, and then I will be posting all of the lists online at downunderpairings.com. So if you're interested in having a review of some of the other lists, go over there, check it out. I'll chuck a link in the description. And let me know what your top 5 lists are. Let me know, of those 5 lists I just mentioned, which is your favorite and why. Let's get a conversation going in the comments below, and I will hit you guys up on Saturday at the event, and we'll track these 5, track their progress, and we'll see how we go. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Ah,